Welcome to Learning Plan 3. This is legal issues in nursing healthcare. We're going to cover a lot of things relatively quickly. I think many of these topics and concepts you already have an idea about. So I'm going to just kind of hit them. I will focus on things that I think are more abstract. But I think many of these topics should be not unfamiliar to you. So let's talk about the learning plan. We're going to talk about sources of law, the Nurse Practice Acts, state boards of nursing, licensure, malpractice, and professionalism. These are all major characteristics of what nurses need to worry about every day. So let's talk about some practical advice real quickly. When it comes to something being legal or not legal, simple thing. If you are doing something and you feel the need to look over your shoulder, probably not supposed to be doing it. Would you tell your mom or dad about it? Would you tell your grandma about it? Does it feel right? Most of us are generally legal. Most of us generally want to do the legal thing, and we all know what we shouldn't be doing. So when it comes to privacy violations, the HIPAA violation, that is a major law. If you accidentally release information, you can get hit with warnings, fines. If you intentionally release information, you can go to jail. You can go to prison. It's major. So that's one of the laws that has to constantly be in the front of your forehead. Privacy, 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 privacy. We never use names outside of the patient's room. We never talk about identifying characteristics. If you have a really unique, one-of-a-kind injury person that you're taking care of, you can't talk about that, because if it's a one-of-a-kind and you talk about it, everybody knows who you're talking about. So privacy, privacy, privacy. Nurses and the law. Who sets nursing laws? And what types of laws are there? There's actually 5 types of law. And all of them impact the nursing one way or another. There is a statutory law. And statutory law is, what you've heard the word statutes. Okay, statutes are set by governments. They are set by states and federal legislatures. These are statutory laws. They are set by simple legislative action. A bill goes before Congress, it gets argued, it goes toward the governor or the president, they sign it, it's a law. That's actually simple. And many things we worry about fall underneath statutory law. Theft, abuse, slander, those are statutory laws. Constitutional law, these are the rights, privileges, and responsibilities as set forth in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's not simple law. That's complex. It's very difficult to change constitutional law. There's administrative law. Sorry about that. There is administrative law. And these are laws, more rules and regulations rather than laws. And they're set forward by agencies. The Wisconsin DNR has administrative laws on hunting. The State Board of Nursing has administrative laws covering nurses. So administrative law is not truly, well, they're laws, but they're not, you break them, they're not set by statutory, they're not set by governments, by the legislator and the governor. They're set more by individual agencies. Then there's common law. Common law is when a case goes before a judge and the judge makes a decision. Whatever decision that judge makes, if it's a new decision, that becomes the new law. For example, let's say you're speeding down the highway, you get pulled over, you go to the judge says, okay, you were going 95 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour zone, but you are a nursing student on your way to clinical, and so you are going to be found not guilty. He's setting law saying that any nursing student now is legal to speed. That's common law. Case law is similar to common law, except it goes to the Supreme Courts, either state or federal. And when case law goes before one of the Supreme Courts, that becomes law. That becomes a major law because those laws are set in accordance with the Constitution. So a common law decision can be appealed and challenged. Case law, once that law is in place, it's there. Nurses are covered by every area of this, some more than others. We're heavily influenced by administrative laws and statutory laws, but we have controls in every one of these areas. Licensure is granted by the state boards of nursing. And some states belong to a multi-state compact, such as Wisconsin. Most don't. 26 states are not part of the compact. And licensure requirements vary across the country because every state sets their own standards. So criminal and civil law. What is the difference between criminal and civil? Well, a criminal case or criminal violation is something that is harmful to society. Theft, battery, murder, kidnapping. These are all crimes that are against society. Now, if it doesn't matter that one person may have been robbed from, the idea of robbery is a harm against all of society. So prosecution is between a government and a person, group, or corporation. Okay, so here we go. This is the first thing. In criminal cases, it's government versus a person, group, or corporation. And it could be a felony, could be a misdemeanor. Misdemeanors generally fines, but you could have jail time up to a year. Felonies are fines and prison time of more than a year. So that's the difference. Felonies have much bigger impact on people's lives. In a civil case, it's a concern between two individuals. And in this case, when we say individual, we also mean group or corporation. Corporations are treated as people in this country. So in a civil case, one person is suing another person for something that they feel they got harmed by. In civil cases, there are no jail times, there are no prison times. There are only monetary rewards. And it is possible for one event to trigger both a criminal and a civil case. Now, the Nurse Practice Act determines the definition of the RN and LPN, and this ensures that the designations are used appropriately. Do you know where you find the Nurse Practice Act? What do different states why do different states have different Nurse Practice Acts? Different states have different states. The Nurse Practice Acts are set by the boards of nursing within each state. Let's say one state says that a nurse must have a BSN. Other states like Wisconsin say, well, we need an ADN. That is a decision for that state boards of nursing. And that's why there are differences. Now, let's talk real quickly about the impaired nurse. We're going to touch this again later on. But so what do you do if you feel a nurse is impaired by alcohol or another drug? What's your responsibility? What are you going to do? See, if you know that your colleague is impaired by alcohol or drugs, and you do nothing about it, and they hurt somebody, are you responsible? Yeah, you are. You knew that they were impaired. So, what are you going to do? You're not going to confront the person individually. You would want to go to your supervisor and give your evidence and let them take the lead on this. Would this be a felony or misdemeanor? Well, it depends on what happens. Criminal or civil? Most likely civil. But if while impaired they did something that was a criminal law, could be both. What are some common things that can impair a nurse besides alcohol and drugs? Now, when we say drugs, of course, we're talking about things like cocaine, marijuana, heroin, hashish, and all that stuff, right? Well, how about Benadryl, NyQuil, cough medicine, painkillers? They can impair you too. And if you're impaired because you took a Benadryl because of your allergies, that's just the same as if you were impaired because of alcohol. How about lack of sleep? How about depression? How about troubled home life? All of these things can impair a nurse. Some are worse than others. So we will never jump to a conclusion. If you see a nurse who's impaired or you suspect is impaired, you're never going to assume that they're doing something wrong. But we will check to see if they are safe. Now, do you remember as a child, maybe this is just me, but I remember hearing people say that if you do something wrong, it's going to go on your permanent record. When you're in elementary school, oh, it's going to go on your permanent record, right? Well, guess what? For nursing, there is the permanent record. It's called NURSIS, NURSISYS. It is a comprehensive electronic record. It is your permanent nursing record. It records your educational data, licensure verification, and if you've ever had disciplinary actions ever, any restrictions or other demographic data about you, it is in that system forever. Now, if you decide to become a nurse practitioner, then you have the NPDB. The NPDB is the Nurse Practice Database, and this is strictly nurse practitioners. But as part of the federal law under Medicare called the Healthcare Quality Improvement Act, it's designed to document malpractice and interstate licensure concerns. And data is collected here only by malpractice insurance companies. And that's the end of part 1.